right? So that's why it's self-funded, and it, as we go, this funding is not Crown funding. So that's the idea. And Akwesasne did a leakage study report, and it really helped them in terms of figuring out how to keep money in the community.
Yeah, I'm supportive of that. Seeking funding.
Is there still surplus? The IC?
No, things are really expensive
No,
now,
I
running
agree.
meetings.
I
So
agree that they probably are.
the
I just didn't know if
surpluses-
there was, I know in the past there was a little extra.
there still is. It's not the buffer it was, but it's always, that's still intended to be that, I don't know, for lack of a better term, like that war chest for if there's an issue that can be, that they'll need it for.
So is this something that they would consider maybe using that if there was, I know Chris was asking about community contributions, but if there is need for it.
Potentially, like they didn't say it because that funding is probably would cover the cost of the study.
No, I meant if they didn't get it from those two organizations that they're approaching. I just didn't know.
I don't know if they would bother. I don't know if they'll go ahead with it if they don't. Yeah.
Okay.
Right now, because communities' budgets are set for the year, I doubt very much they would go to a community to say add in on an annual contribution.
Thank you.
I presume there is no expectation of a community contribution because it wasn't identified in the briefing note.
Correct.
So do you agree? We agree, I guess, with the concept of conducting an economic study, but just need written clarification. There's no contribution from the communities, or additional contribution because they might use some of the surplus that they have, right? Okay. No additional contribution from community.
Possible, yeah.
And the second issue, do you agree with applying to the non-Crown sources for revenue?
I'll motion.
Okay, to approve?
Yes.
I'll second. Okay, anybody opposed? Seeing none, the motion's carried. So that it'll be interesting to see what the study says.
And then just re-signing the MOU trade protocol, is that still, we signed it in 2015 and now it's just been updated with that one pause, the dates, and then
then
leadership
taking
has
what
changed
off?
since 2015. So, but Chief Mark will sign the original one.
Do we need a motion for that, Chief?
We do.
I'll motion.
No second, Chief.
And just so you're aware, so the working group identified in the economic study, Ganawage their council's already decided they will definitely participate in the working group part, so the planning piece of that, just so you're aware. They'll mention that next week when we're in attendance. And then for the trade protocol, the intention of crossing border and having the meeting in Akwesasne was based on having that trade protocol signed in person. So all communities will be there and they are going to have the chief exchange a gift when they sign. So I'll work on that to make sure we have those 5 gifts when we go.
So the Ontario Regional Chief Abram and I and Chief Adam Paywis and Chief Claire Salt and then a chief from the Northern Community were at the throne speech yesterday. One of the things that he said that was in the throne speech was, of course, it was largely about the tariffs, developing the Ring of Fire resources, dealing with Trump and President Trump and these tariffs and the economic pressure on to ruin Ontario's economy was part of the strategies to deal with the Ford government were there. Conducting the pipelines across Canada, ensuring that there was east-west free trade among the provinces and territories to get rid of any barriers. Some changes in federal policy were needed to make that happen. There was going to be a crackdown on illegal gun running, drug running, and human smuggling at the border issues. And so I think that it would be probably appropriate for the caucus to have a statement on that that's in line with Chief Leonard Lazar, because obviously it's their community. Because if they're going to make any kind of press statement, then that was certainly in the throne speech. They were going to target the borders, and of course this was an Ontario throne speech, so obviously they're looking at the Ontario borders that are in this province, and so that was specific in the throne speech, and obviously this is the policy of the Ford government that worked its way into the throne speech. So I think we need to have a statement on that, and I think it's important because when Abram was the chief, they did go to the Minister of Public Safety and did ask for more policing because those things were happening there. And I did bring this up in our Grand Chief's conference call. So really, maybe the chief there needs to say he supports these measures, or he doesn't, and if so, why? Because it certainly is, if it works its way into the throne speech, it's a major goal of the government. Okay, so that's maybe, Shu, if you could, for the Iroquois caucus, get a copy of the throne speech and just highlight that section for them. Okay, maybe Amy could send that around to the caucus. They should think about what, if they're asked by the media, what they're going to say to that. Okay, so that's it. So for that portion. Is there anything else we need from Shu? I don't think so. That's on the agenda. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, post-majority feasibility study.
Susan said she's available if you have any questions.
There's nothing in this folder here under 23. Is there a briefing note or something that's supposed to be in here?
Yep.
I don't have it. It's empty. I don't think it was there. What Charlie was told yesterday, it was still being developed. Charlie, were you told that it was just being, still wasn't ready yet to be put in there? It's not here. I just got 23. I just turned the page. It's not here.
Do you want me to read it, Chief?
Yes, please. Oh, here, it's under 24. Sorry.
You got it?
Yeah.
Do you want me to have Susan join on Teams?
So anyway, so the issue is, yeah, please get Susan on the line.
I'll see if I can contact her.
So MBQ's Community Wellbeing and Mohawk Family Services initiated a request for proposals for the feasibility and design stages for new
Shelley, I'll have to
housing
resend it.
program. Please see briefing note for further details. The recommendation is that council approve KL Martin Associates as the successful applicant, enter into a contract to complete the project as outlined in the proposal. Now, post-majority is children that had been in children's aid care. And so it's not about any youth that needs housing. It's about the ones who have been in the care of children's aid and have now reached the age of majority and need services beyond the age of majority. And so I think it's up to 30, but we'll check with Susan on that.
Just trying to...
So there were several consultants that they looked at. There was the Ailey Group, Greer Galloway, Monument, Jewel Engineering, Oshki Wabis Engineering and Consultants, KL Martin Associates, and Carbon Concept.
She said sure.
The following 4 companies responded to the call. Only 4 responded to the call for proposals: KL Martin Associates, Smoke Architect, Colburn Campbell Architect, and the 4th one's not in there. But the recommendation was to go with KL Martin.
The 4th one's there. It's Monument, but it kind of looked like
It's
it's
just one
tabbed
tab
over too
subheading.
far.
Okay, so the monument should be a separate heading, okay. Okay. Hi, Susan, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
We're discussing the post-majority housing and that the recommendation for KL Martin. So post-majority is it 18 to 30 or what's the maximum age group to be considered post-majority?
18 to 26.
18 to 26, okay.
Yeah.
And so how big are we making this? There's 6 smaller homes, it says, with a kitchen, bedroom, bathroom, storage, laundry space. Do we know how many children that would fall under this category for ask for post-majority support that are members? Because I know that I did raise at the Chiefs Council, we hadn't seen any statistics about the number of children that had been in care that would qualify. So if you don't know the number, how do you plan for that? Or do you know?
Full number, because I need to go through the statistics and I haven't done that. But based on the number of kids that we're currently working with, absolutely we have enough. So I'll say fill that right now because we are supporting 1, 2, 3, 4 youth right now. We're supporting them off territory, moving on their own.
Okay, so if it goes back 26 years, then I guess, right? What year would this
Yeah,
start?
it'd be 18, so it's a short window, right?
No, but if some are 26 years old now, that they would still be eligible for post-majority support. So we know that it'll only go back 26 years, not before that, right?
Yeah, correct.
Okay, and so it would be nice, it would be interesting to know how many there are. But now, when Joel Abram, the Grand Chief, and I had a call with the ministry about that, we were told that the Children's Aid Societies some of them kept good records, some of them were electronic, some of them were still paper, and some of them didn't have records at all. So we don't know, and then some of them are in other provinces, Children's Aid. Like, well, I know we have, I think, a couple in Manitoba. I did see a report like that. So do we know across the country how many potentially could come and ask us for services?
No, we wouldn't. They may not be able to go back that far either. I know, in working with Highland Shores and KFLNA right now, they've been moving forward. They've been updating all of their files with their current clients, so they haven't gone back if they're not working with anyone right now. So these are the kids that have aged out of the society, and that seems to be, what they had done in the past. Is once the kid turned 18, then the society said, you're an adult, you're on your own,
Yeah,
basically.
because when we approved the Child Family Services Agreement with the recent Chiefs of Ontario meeting in Toronto, I did raise that question, and Maggie Wente and the others said they really didn't have a report pulled together like that. And so I just wanted to know if you were aware, is that information reliable, or do you have statistics on how many people were members of the band? And then I said, with so many people having lived off the reserve, that we wouldn't know unless the ministry tells us. So I said, how can you plan for a service if you don't know how many you're planning for, or what the potential impact is?
Mhm. And just based on the funding that we'll be receiving, looking at that, and some of it, until we get fixed what our budget's going to be, that it's been proposal driven through the department.
So this proposal really is the best guess of what to put something in place.
Yeah.
Okay, Chris?
Hi, Susan.
Hi,
Can you enlighten me? Is this development suggested to be similar to what we have going in Shannonville now with those tiny houses and housing the homeless?
yes and no.
Okay. So these 6 people, are you proposing 6 tiny houses or a couple of group homes?
No, individual housing,
So tiny houses for singles.
yes.
Okay. And do you have a site?
No.
Okay, so there's no money for this project yet? You're looking to get you have funding to
There's
hire
money.
the consultants, but there's no money for capital, et cetera, et cetera?
There's money.
Oh, there is. Okay, how much? Okay. Yeah, I'm just trying to get my head around because it seems very similar. This development seems similar to what's already going up there. And if it's something as simple as 4 or 5 tiny houses in a cluster or a hub, I hate putting hundreds of thousands of dollars in a consultant's pockets when that could build 2 and 3 houses. So I'm just trying to get a handle on, maybe do a briefing note, what's different between this proposed development and what's already up there? Okay, I don't think we had consultants for what's already up there.
Yes and no. We went based on some of the models that are already out there, so up there, up in Shenandoah, what we, they label them as is more supportive housing, right? So you have to agree that you're going to work with a counselor and different things like that. And it's for the adults, and yes, it's going to be the same thing, but they're going to be consulting with the youth, and they're going to be consulting with some other people, so it's going to have more input from the youth. And then what we were looking at is just a bigger programming space of some of the things that we can do with the kids.
So Susan, what if some of the ones that are aging out that qualify for this, what if some of them are married or partnered, they have children? These are sort of more targeted to aging out people that are single that only need 1 bedroom, right?
Correct, yeah.
And so what happens if they have a family?
If they have a family, we can support them in another way. We can set them up and do some
And then Chris?
supportive housing. We have some funds that we can help them with their rent and things like that. So we would put them in the appropriate housing.
Okay, because that would be one thing to know the makeup of these families, because I would, in that age group, it's likely that they may have a partner and may have children.
Yes, yes.
Hey, Chris?
We can support.
Just adding on or going over what Chris was saying too, and I agree totally, is that in construction, like instead of hiring consultants, we already have house design, that are built slab on grade, and they're more cost efficient, and they actually go up quicker than buying tiny homes. So like for money wise, for just everything in general, I think that if we had the site plan and we do everything, just like we go with the slab on grade tiny homes, because we already have designs for those. We don't have to go and spend extra money to do whatever. And like you said, consultant fees. Well, why go and hire a consultant for the design of homes when we don't need it? It's just a thought.
Yeah, so back in the
Food for
90s,
thought.
we did build those tiny houses. The granny flats were an example of that slab on grade. They were built them, and they were built by our own carpenters. I don't know if the building code has changed any of that from that construction. It still meets all, I presume it does, but I don't know for sure. We need to check that out to make sure there hasn't been any other building code changes.
Well, those ones that are down in the flats, they're all
Yeah.
slab on grade too,
Yeah.
and they're all designed 1 and 2 bedroom houses.
So I guess what exactly would KL Martin be doing, Susan? Doing the design of the houses?
Design of the house, but they're also going to be talking to the youth, they're going to be talking to staff. How should the site be set up?
So
where-
instead of us deciding, they're going to ask the occupants what it is they're looking for.
Yeah.
Why can't we just do a survey in-house?
Yeah,
Go ahead,
exactly.
Steve.
Why spend the money that I don't see.
This is not money coming out of our pocket. There is money available to do this. And this just gives us more information, and it jumps through all of the hoops that the department is asking for.
Okay, so there's information that the funder's asking for.
Yeah.
Okay. And what kind of information would that be, Susan?
What we've asked for in the call for proposals that everybody has given us is the documentation and different things that we need to have our I's dotted and T's crossed in order to submit further applications to the minister, to the department, so that these can be funded and that we can actually, what do they want to see? What type of support do these youth want to see? We can tell them, but then who knows if we get to buy.
Oh, so it's really more than just the house that they're going to live in. It's what other supports would they need to become successful.
Yeah.
I see. And what's the budget for this roughly?
The department hasn't said what they have, so it's all proposal driven.
Okay.
I believe our funding over the next couple of years is around 600,000 a year, so that would be the staffing of the programming to support these youth.
But through the new agreement, though, these initiatives are well funded.
Yeah.
Chris?
How much funding was received to pay for consultants or do this kind of work?
None.
None. It's proposal. We were to submit a proposal.
Oh, I thought you were spending the money in hopes of getting
No,
the
they're
capital
submitting a proposal to
spending.
get the
So
work done.
she's,
So does council approve then submitting a proposal and approving KL Martin, no, to approve KL Martin Associates as a successful applicant to enter into a contract to complete the project as outlined in the proposal?
well, if we're engaging with a consultant, you must have the money, chief.
We must have, we've got to pay them something.
How much money do you have was my question.
We received 599,000 or something and sitting there.
And what's it, and how are we allowed to spend that 600?
But it's not just building the house, there's other information the department wants that the contractor's got to do, and and I want to make sure that it will get done.
And then they'll say, this is how
I'm
much
not
money
sure,
we need.
it came in a
And
letter.
then they give that to the IRC, and then the IRC will say, oh, okay,
I saw that letter, yes.
3 million I need. Then they've already paid for this part of it.
They identified what our budget would be for
For the proposal.
That's a lot of money for just a whole.
I think it's probably.
I don't know how it works. So basically, all it's doing is
Susan, when's the deadline for submissions?
There's no deadline for submissions. This is a need that we've identified, there's funding there to hire the consultant so that we can do the bigger proposal to submit. And we haven't been able to hire any post-majority staff to work with the kids, so that's been the issue of trying to pull some of this data. So it's the money's there to do it, we just need to make sure we have everything in place in order to get the money to build it.
So once again, it's still, I mean, we're gonna spend 176,000 for these people to do a proposal, hoping that we get the money to do because it's not guaranteed, because it's a proposal.
Okay.
Right? So basically, we're spending that amount of money in hopes of getting more money just to do the houses. Basically, is all it is.
It's they're gathering other information.
They're gathering information, yeah. It's.
And that's what I'm hoping to do.
And it is, yeah.
Susan, is this money allowed to be spent on capital if we did something in-house and did a simple survey, satisfy the funders with a simple survey, get the information from the youth we needed, and you put $500,000 towards actually 3 or 4 little houses? I just know that far too often, money's going into consultants' pockets because we're reinventing the wheel way too often, and we could have had something tangible. But we always go, oh, well, it's kind of free money, it's kind of someone else's money, in one hand, out the other, and all we got is study, and another consultant.
Myself, in order to do what needs to be done, the money is there to hire the consultant. We hear all the time that people want to be consulted, and I think letting the youth have a say of what they want things to look like is the.
And then you'll get a written report.
So you're asking the youth what they want in a house?
Yeah. They're gonna come up with some design, they're gonna say, you know, what would be good for you? They're gonna come back with designs, they're gonna put supports what you need, there's different things as part of the call that they put in their proposal that they will be doing.
So these houses are going to be for that particular youth.
The youth that are
Themselves.
aging out of like foster care and stuff.
Yes, from out of foster care,
Between
but,
like 18 and 26.
but that will be their house.
Yes.
Not,
For-
no,
Transition.
no,
Oh,
it'll be a
good
home that's
question.
abandoned, they can live there.
And they will have to transition out at the age of 26, and we'll be working with them at whatever time.
So they're going to design a house for somebody that's coming along in their footsteps too then.
Yes.
And what if that person that's in the footsteps looks at a house differently?
It's not necessarily like, it's not one individual like picking, like, you know, you're getting a home, you're picking what you want in a home. They're talking to all of the youth and we'll take that, all of that information of this is
Free
what,
Wi-Fi?
Well,
yeah,
it would be
this
important to
is
know.
what would be something to consider. Not necessarily I'm designing my own home, but if I was in this situation, these are the things that I would like considered.
Yeah, I can understand that totally. But once again, like, I mean, I still question about, the same thing as Chris, is about spending that amount of money when the money that they're actually going after is not guaranteed. So if they say, oh shit, we put our best proposal together and they didn't like it, so now we're out $176,000 for that we could have actually built almost one home.
But
Do
this,
it in phases with the funding that we have. If we aren't successful in getting the infrastructure money, we would be able to use the funding that we received to do it in phases.
and this funding is specifically for this, is to use, to do this
Aging out.
application.
It's
It's
for
given
aging.
to you to do this survey.
Plus, there's also $2 billion Canada-wide in that settlement that deals with housing and that child family services new agreement.
Well, what, you know
And
what it's
Ontario
gonna
will get
be?
its share of it.
It's, what it's gonna be
Or the
is,
2 billion.
it'll be just a flip
Over
of the
10
coin
years.
and hope. So like, do we want to just flip the coin and say yes to what are they, KL and KL Martin and just hope that they come up with, or that they put together such a phenomenal proposal that it actually awards the money for these places. And how many houses were there?
6.
Six. Okay. It's a gamble. Do you want to gamble?
I think it will likely get approved because the government knows it has to address this issue.
Okay, well then I'll motion that we use them. We'll go for them then, and let's.
Well, my concern is getting it done because as Susan said, that their staff are very, very busy. Then if it falls through the cracks and we don't apply it and we miss the boat, then.
Is there a deadline on the proposal
No,
time?
she
I
said
don't
no.
believe so,
No,
but
okay.
I'll second that. I think the money has been put there to do this, so let's do it.
If the money is there for it, then
all I can tell you is the early bird gets the worm.
okay. But
Absolutely.
we learned from this though. If we don't come back on the positive side, then we have to think a little harder
Yeah.
the next time on wasting. In a sense, that although right now it's not wasting that money.
Yeah,
If we come back negative, then it is a waste of that money.
Well, from what I'm hearing, it's not just
But-
to build 6 houses, it's more than that.
Right. It's not, you're going to be able to use the data that they're gathering from the youth in other ways, not just about these houses,
And I
right?
guess, and what
Or getting a
support services
design.
do these youth need? Because we don't know who they are.
They'll find out when they do this survey.
And that's what this survey is about.
Yeah,
To
yeah.
get those answers.
To find out what
Or
are the
this
services that
proposal,
these
sorry.
people are going to need, what is their income
And then we
levels,
can use
what
that
should the
data
rent
for
be?
future
Yeah.
proposals.
Pretty
Okay.
expensive survey.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so anyway, so it's been moved by Chris and seconded by Aaron to contract with KL Martin to do this work. Is there anyone opposed? Chris Miracle opposed? Is there anyone opposed? Else opposed? Seeing none, the motion is carried with 1 negative vote. Chris Miracle, and do you want to state the reason why, Chris? Opposed to hiring contractors?
Yeah, this could be done very easily by pulling someone off the street to oversee a survey. Again, survey monkey this stuff and to say that a marginalized person, a single person is gonna have a whole lot of options when it comes to looking at plans. The tiny house is a tiny house and marginalized homeless people, they want that basic little house. Yeah, just
We're
look
going
at,
beyond that, Chris. We're going
Yeah.
beyond just a basic tiny home. So if you look at the issues we're having in the community around hoarding, so making sure we have the appropriate space in some of these homes so that we can address that with them, to talk about how we store things, how we keep things, how you get rid of things. So it's not just a tiny home that they're going to be happy to have.
yeah.
Other pieces to it.
I understand that, but when we're engaging civil engineers for this stuff that we're talking about, no, I just, no. Anyways, for me, go ahead, chief.
Okay, the motion is carried. Okay, was the Quinny Mohawk School tractor pulled from the agenda? Pardon? Thank you, Susan.
Thanks, Susan.
Thanks, Susan.
Thank you. Bye.
I didn't get any more additional quotes from Marie. But
Because I see
just
it's
sent it
on
to
the
her,
agenda,
too.
but there's nothing in 24 here.
Right, so the package that she gave you,
Was on the last agenda.
right, but it didn't go through the process of having several quotes because of the
Okay,
price of it, and also, you don't just hand it to the chief before the meeting, so we gotta
Scale it
make
back.
sure that all the proper people are vetting it, right?
yeah, so the explanation she gave was that in order for them to keep some of the parts that fit on that tractor, they have to buy another Massey Ferguson tractor. Otherwise, they can't keep those parts.
That's lie, chief.
Some, if it's 3-point hitch, they work on any tractor.
And I don't know what the contract is they have with Massey Ferguson with the tractor.
It's not Massey Ferguson, John Deere.
Oh, John Deere, okay.
Can we just defer that one? It's
Yeah,
not on our
you-
little
you
thing.
should defer it,
Yeah,
Chief.
we'll just defer
That's a lot of money.
until it
Waiting
does
for the
come to
additional
the
quote.
table correctly.
Yes.
But don't let it drag on and on and on and not have a grass cutter there. And have long grass up.
It's, no, it's still working,
It's
chief.
still working. They can use they just want to get a new one because that one's.
Which is
No, but it's,
just-
it's getting aging. I guess they're concerned it's
Consider
going to be
the
out of
price, but we
commission.
need to have additional quotes.
But nothing runs like a deer. It's still running. I've mine for 22 years.
Well, let's hope it keeps running.
Price.
I
Okay,
motion to defer. Did anybody second?
Is
Okay.
Bryce around?
Me too.
Chip.
His computer's on.
Aaron and Curtis to defer it. Is anybody opposed?
No.
For additional quotes? Okay, the motion is carried.
What's going on with your computer?
Okay, the
His
next
computer
item,
keeps
Alan Pratt invoices.
Mine was doing that this morning too. I couldn't open any of the things.
I've been half an hour.
Weird.
There it is.
Alan Pratt invoices, number 25.
Mine was doing that too, Chip.
How's that?
Yeah, it
I'll
was.
text.
Then I just restarted it.
I'm gonna try to get back in again. Hold on.
What's that? Sorry, can't help it.
Okay, so I'll read them out in case you're having computer issues. So Alan Pratt invoices, there's invoice number 6353 for $5,343.35 relating to the Culberson issue. 66354, 2,478 dealing with the Turton Pen loss of use. 6357, $368.50 dealing with the Culberson issue.
I'll motion.
Motion to pay, Aaron
Second.
and Chris Miracle. Anyone opposed? Seeing none, the motion is carried. Hicks Morley invoice relating to human resources. HR legal matters, invoice number 823513. The total invoice is for $2,880. Motion to pay.
Motion.
Aaron, who will second it?
I'll second, Chief.
Linda, is anyone opposed? Seeing none, the motion is carried. The TTO, the Junhet language Culture Agreement 2025-26. Please approve the agreement for 2025-6. And to approve the agreement, and the amount is for $375,000. And I guess I'm suggesting when we get the, even though it's got to go through consultation, that serious consideration be given to using that four-pillar money when we get it. And not the open LP.
Yeah,
Motion
if
to
that's what the
approve.
community wants.
I'll motion to.
Is there a seconder?
I'll second the motion of paying the TTO. That's what you said, right? Yeah.
Chris Brandt,
TTO.
Chris Brandt and Aaron then?
Yep.
Approved? Anyone opposed? Seeing none, the motion is carried. The Mohawk Immersion Agreement 2025-26. Motion is to approve the agreement. And the agreement is for $322,444. Motion to approve.
I'll motion.
I'll second. Yeah.
The Tom Kring for the Tyendinaga Arena Building Committee. Window of interested parties closed on February the 26th. The council approval for member selection is now required. Approve the list of 13 volunteer members and non-firm who the DMC will be a member. What does non-firm mean?
Where is he seeing that?
So the people that have applied are Nick Lewine, Matt Bernhardt, Susan Barberstock, Kane Hill, Colleen Brandt, Curtis Miracle, Angela Markland, Christy Martin, status non-member, Brandy Miracle, Greg Riley, Josh Hill, Riley Reynolds, non-status committee member, and Chris Miracle Jr.
I'll motion.
Where is Terry? Why is Terry not on it?
I do not know.
He was the biggest one. He was the loudest advocate on this arena, and he's not coming forward.
I can't answer your question,
He's
Chris.
the one that opened his mouth all the time about it, all the time, but he's not on the.
Well, he is allowed. He's a community member. He's allowed to voice his opinion on stuff. We have to listen to what they have to say. So he doesn't have to serve on the committee. He's not muted just because he's not on the committee. Chris?
Question. So I have a family member on there, but there's absolutely nothing to gain, I believe. So how do conflicts? Do you declare conflict?
Do you
with the
benefit
family
from
member?
it? Do you benefit from it?
Okay. Would
Does
someone
he-
benefit from being on a volunteer?
It's a volunteer committee, so they're not being paid unless the council wants to give them an honorarium at the
No,
end
just
of
a
the year,
general
which we would
question.
generally do it.
General question.
for most of the
Parks
committees.
and Recreation team, they're the same way.
Yeah.
You don't get nothing. They've got a budget.
I don't see it as a conflict, to be honest.
Yeah, me either.
As long as you're not benefiting.
And I have a question. What does that mean when it says status, but they're a non-MBQ member?
She has status, but it's just
somewhere
not
else.
status from MBQ.
Oh, okay. But they live here.
Yeah.
So they could belong to a different reserve and married somebody from here, but they kept their membership in the other community, didn't transfer it.
Yeah.
So that there can be things like that. So
You
So Aaron has moved to approve.
I'll second that, Chief.
Would it be Ogwari or Chris?
I'll be the TMC rep. I mean, if that's okay, if you guys are.
Yeah. Do we have to motion that, chief?
Sure.
Oh, okay.
Okay, well then I can't second it, can I?
Well, oh, no.
Chip is gonna second that.
Well, let's deal with the committee first, okay? That's one motion. One motion is the committee. Let's deal with what's on the agenda.
She's got it.
We're gonna put them both in the same motion.
Oh, for them, okay, I see. And Chris Miracle appointed Chris Brandt. All right,
Take a motion.
so it's Aaron and Curtis then for the motion? Okay, is anyone opposed? Anyone opposed? Seeing none, the motion is carried. So it's now time to go into our in-camera portion of the council meeting. Could I have a motion? I'd like to thank all the people who joined us this afternoon online, and I wish you a pleasant rest of the day.